What's going on, people? Myke C-Town here. I'm sure you saw the title, so let's not waste any time and let's jump right into it. Before we get started, though, real quick, for those of you that don't know, me and the guys from Dead End Hip Hop, we have a podcast called Is the Myke Still On? And on that podcast, we gave our thoughts about the movie Get Out. And it's a fucking hilarious conversation, man. So I'll put the link in the description section down there. But in the discussion, I didn't really get to say everything that I wanted to say about this movie. So that's why I'm making this video. And before we go any further, this video will have spoilers. So if you haven't seen Get Out, get the fuck out of this video. Hit the X, get on. First off, I just want to put y'all on notice that I've been talking about this movie since I saw the trailer fucking last year sometime, and I put on Facebook that I thought that this was going to be the movie of the year, and everyone thought I was crazy. And the reason I was so interested in this film is because it rang so many bells in my own personal life. And that's what I want to talk about first, the similarities between what Chris went through and what I went through. So everyone likes to think that I only date white girls, which is just not true. At this point in my life, I've dated the entire spectrum, and what people don't seem to grasp is I date the women that will date me. Be honest, how many black women do you know who want to date a skinny black dude who listens to satanic metal and wears tight jeans? Exactly. Now, we have to remember, the whole black people being weird, that didn't become acceptable until relatively recently. So, for the majority of my adolescence, I was looked at like a freak, and on average, black women wanted nothing to do with me, especially in the South. I did a video on this. I'll put that in the description section down there as well. Make sure you guys go check that out. Now, I've only had like 3 really serious white girlfriends, and this type of situation involving racist parents has only happened to me one time. What was so interesting about Jordan Peele's portrayal of how it went down was that it was almost exact to mine, down to the way it started off with the question of, do they know I'm black? Prior to meeting the parents, and my girlfriend's response being, they won't care, they're not racist. Then to the driving through the neighborhood where there's not a single black person in sight. And I've told my white friends about this, that I don't like going anywhere, especially in the South, where I don't see any black people at all. I get instantly uncomfortable. And it's not a matter of I'm not comfortable around white people, it's just that you naturally look for someone that looks like you because it makes you feel a slight sense of camaraderie. Then down to the meeting of my girlfriend's parents, where you start to sense that something's up. You know, they're not overtly insulting, but there's this weird air that they're not extremely happy about you being there. And then there's this weird sense of over-welcoming. You know, the dad with the, what up, man? And, you know, him always wanting to talk to you about sports or Obama, 2 things that I really have no desire to have in-depth conversations about. Then the mom who just kind of acted like I wasn't there at all. And anytime she did acknowledge me, it was to say some kind of shitty, judgmental, sideways ass comment that maybe she thought I was too stupid to catch. Or maybe she didn't even realize that she was being condescending or rude. But, you know, then the longer that you're there, the more certain comments start to come out where they're not just obviously racist, but they're low-key racist. And at first, like Chris, I just try to act like everything's fine. I start making excuses in my head. You know, I'm being too sensitive. They didn't mean it that way. And after a while, you start to get woke. And you see that, nah, man, that is what they meant. Long story short, I ended up finding out that factually, my girlfriend's parents were racist. And another interesting parallel to the movie is how the whole time, up until the end, Chris thought Rose was on his side, that she wasn't like the parents, that she loved him, and that no matter what, she would have his back because, like Chris, she knew that the parents' beliefs were wrong. But in the end, she ended up siding with the parents, and she was with the parents the entire time. And the same thing happened to me, and you know, this led to Rose's demise in the movie, and it ended up leading to our relationship's demise in real life. Now, I would never go into detail in a public forum concerning this situation because even though I think my ex-girlfriend's parents are racist fuckheads and she's a coward for not standing up to her parents, I'm not in the business of broadcasting this kind of shit to the world. You know, very few people know the details to this story, and I'm going to keep it that way. What's funny is I even have a friend, Will, who was like Rod from the movie who told me not to go. He said, don't go down there with those people by yourself. And here I am thinking, stop being a jackass, man. Not everyone's racist. And I had to go back and eat crow and tell that motherfucker he was right. You know, and I remember as I was packing up all my shit to move it to my own place, he was like, man, I told you about those people. And this is, of course, not to say all white women are racist. That's fucking stupid. And this is also not to say that all white parents are racist. That's just as stupid. It's more to say that you should pay attention to the signs. You know what I mean? Stay woke, as the kids like to say. If you think something is a certain way, don't instantly jump to conclusions, but at the same time, don't immediately dismiss it either. It may save you a lot of pain in the long run. I think the fact that Jordan Peele is married to a white woman, which I didn't know prior to seeing this movie because I don't know anything about the guy, I think that's really interesting. I think the way he wrote this movie, the way it played out, it was clear to me that he was speaking from some sort of experience. And I'd love to know if he went through something like this or something that was closer to what I went through. Because there were all these people that I saw that were saying that the movie was racist or anti-white, which I don't think it was at all. And I didn't even think that prior to knowing who he was married to. I think a critique is not always an attack. And I think the fact that he's speaking from a place of experience is very important here. Now I want to talk about some of the symbolism in the movie that I caught. The song Redbone. I think it was genius to use this song in the movie when you consider what that song is about. The lyrics, stay woke, niggas creeping, they gonna catch you sleeping. In the song, he suspects his girl is cheating, but in the movie, it's more so that he suspects his girl is trying to hurt him, but in a different way. You know, stay woke, pay attention to what's going on around you. They're gonna catch you sleeping. And that line really sinks in when you consider the whole hypnosis part. Or it could work when you just think of the slang, catch you sleeping, not paying attention. It works both ways. Either way, a great idea to include that song in the movie. The deer. I want to think that there's something deeper with the deer getting hit, especially since the father starts talking about deer later on, but I haven't made that connection. But all I got was the whole idea about his mom. He's reliving what happened with his mom. You know, she was hit by the car and left to die, so he didn't want to leave the deer there to suffer like his mom did. So that was really deep to me. I also don't know if this was some kind of allusion to Myke Brown, who was killed in the street and left there to die while there were people watching. I'm probably totally reaching there. Nothing I'm saying here is fact. And speaking of cops, the whole idea of the cop asking for Chris's license when he wasn't even driving the car, and his girl Rose starts popping off telling the cop, no, fuck that. Nah, man, this is bullshit. You don't have to give him your license. You won't even drive. On one hand, you look at that and you think, man, you got yourself a DAB, man, a real down-ass bitch. But on the other hand, you think about it and you're like, yeah, she can do that because she has that luxury. You know, she's a white woman versus a black male. And regardless of her clear and obvious aggression towards the cop, it will never compare to the cop's perceived or expected aggression from Chris. I think there was an interesting significance to the blind man that Chris meets. I think he represents the colorblind person, the I don't see color guy. You know, yeah, sure, you don't see color, meaning you're not overtly racist, but you may still feel it. It may still be in there. You don't have to actively acknowledge it. I think it's interesting that Chris lets his guard down with this guy, only to find out later on that the guy was going to buy him. You know, and it's funny because we let our guard down with certain people, like the people that say, I don't see color. And in the meantime, you never know that in the back of their mind, yeah, they don't see you as inferior, but they still have these kind of preconceived notions about you that can hurt. And it's also interesting that he wasn't so much a violent racist. It was almost like he admired Chris. He wanted to use Chris to his advantage, which is an interesting spin to this whole thing because the people in this movie, they weren't so much anti-black. They all had this odd and awkward admiration for blacks. It's not even that you can say that they saw black people as inferior, because I don't think they did. I don't think this was evidenced anywhere in the film. The father was going around collecting pieces from other cultures. You know, the white lady wanted to know if sex was better with a black guy. You know, the word nigger was never spoken throughout this entire movie by a white person. It wasn't going to be that obvious. It was all about this idea of them wanting what the black people in this movie had, what they didn't have. You know, the blind guy with Chris's eyes, the white woman wanting better sex, Rose's grandfather wanting the black man's speed so he can relive the whole race against Jesse Owens. I thought the Asian guy being in the movie was very interesting. I think Jordan Peele kind of threw that in there because a lot of us look at Asian people and think that they can't be anti-black racist because they're not white, which makes absolutely no sense. You know, let's not forget that Hitler thought very highly of Asian cultures, especially Japanese. He made Japanese people honorary Nazis. So that whole idea is just kind of silly. And that's not to say that every time you meet an Asian person, they're definitely going to be racist. That's fucking stupid. It's to say that you shouldn't be surprised if they are simply based on their race. I thought the whole idea of how picking cotton was the thing that saved him. I thought that was really interesting. At the end when he's tied up and he's picking at the chair and he picks the cotton and that's what he puts in his ears. That's what saves him from the whole hypnosis thing. And you know, the whole idea of things that brought us pain in the past can provide us strength later on. I thought that was really interesting. There's also this idea that, you know, he uses the ball to kill the evil brother because black people use basketball or some sort of sport to break away from the cycle of captivity that we may feel by being stuck in the hood. But I'm not really sure if that's a stretch or not. But yeah, overall, I thought this movie was fantastic. It was a great horror thriller that was done so extremely well that it was almost surprising that it hasn't been done before. You know, the characters were extremely realistic. The guy who plays Chris, whose name I can't remember, who was also in Black Mirror, he was in my favorite episode of Black Mirror. He's an amazing actor. He's very realistic. He acted exactly how you act in these situations. Shocked, surprised. He wasn't in movie mode where he's acting the way you think someone in a movie should act. He was behaving in a way that most of us would act in that scenario. The things that the family said, the things that the people at the party said, these are all things that really do get said in real life, man. Things that we have to hear, knowing that they're fucked up things, but also knowing that if we get mad, we look like the bad guys, so we just have to ignore them. I think everyone should go see this movie. I think this is a movie that we'll talk about years from now. It's almost like a do the right thing of horror movies, and I can't wait to see it again. I can't wait to have discussions about it with you guys. So if you saw it, let me know what you thought in the comment section down there. Let's talk about it, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's it for this video. As usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you. Please don't die, and I'll see you guys next time. All right? Peace, bitches.